Okay, all my wonderful and lovely people. Tonight's rendition of Bachelor Surprise is going to be chicken soup. Um, my homie Terry Gill told me when I got sick last week, he said, well, your next Bachelor Surprise should be chicken soup. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. So I got an onion, half of it, and I have 3 different kinds of bell pepper. Whenever I do a soup or beans, I always do 3 different kinds of bell pepper because when the taste marries together, it sets it off. I got a poblano chili and a tomato. I'm going to roast those up and chop this all up, and then start by putting some olive oil, some garlic into a pan, and then ultimately it'll be in a pot when I add water. I'll add the chicken and everything, and it should come out good. All right, here we go. I want to show you something while cutting your bell pepper. You see that white part right there and around there? You want to cut that out because that is what gives you that briny or kind of sour taste, right? The bell pepper is kind of sweet when you think about it, but that'll damage the taste. So you cut that out before you chop it up. So here I got the poblano chili roasted, gutted, taking all the seeds out because the seeds and the booty don't get along anymore. And I'm going to chop that up and throw it in with the vegetables. Here's my onions. I got some broccoli, and I have the stock from the broccoli as well as the 3 different types of bell pepper in there. All right. So I have my garlic, onions, bell pepper, and the celery stalk that I chopped up, all in a pan that I'm frying up, or just actually reducing. And when they get nice, they'll be ready to put in with the chicken, which I'm going to start as well in another pan. I don't like putting chicken on top of my vegetables because the chicken doesn't get cooked properly before adding the water, because you want the chicken to have a nice sear on it, and then you want to add the water to it. All right. Also, I'm holding off on putting the broccoli, the onions, the poblano, and the roasted tomato in there until I put the chicken in there for the final boil when the water goes in there, because I don't want to reduce everything. I still want the chunks of onion in there, the broccoli, and then the poblano is already roasted and the tomatoes already roasted, so they'll just cook once the soup comes together. So I have the chicken going, skin side down first, seasoned with this Fiesta seasoning. Fiesta chicken fajita seasoning. Notice there's a family here in San Antonio that owns this company. And then I got my vegetables going. I let them get a little toasty, but that's alright. I tasted it, it's still good. I'm going to rub it anyway. And so the chicken, you just want to brown it, and then you want to start throwing everything together. So the chicken is looking good. And then I'm going to go ahead and combine the vegetables with the chicken and then season it. So I just put the poblano and the tomato in there, and the other vegetables are in there, and then you just let this marry for a little bit. Let the flavors marry. It's going to get roasty, and then we'll turn it into a soup. So I transferred everything out of the wok into a pot now, right? And the heat is still pretty high because you want to leave the heat high so when you pour your fluid in there, it doesn't reduce the temperature of the chicken, right? Because chicken, you want to, when you start cooking it, you got to cook it till done. You don't want to fluctuate on the temperature until the end when you put it on simmer. So I just put in the liquid, and in less than a minute it started boiling. That's what I mean by you don't want the chicken to, you don't want to put your liquid in there, and make sure you got some room temperature water. Don't just get the cold water and put in there. Room temperature water you put in there. I put some chicken bouillon. I put the red kind, Caldo de tomate con sabor de pollo. And then I put the yellow kind, because I like both kinds. The red kind makes it more darker. That's why my soup is kind of dark. And then I got the yellow kind. About a a little more than a teaspoon. I don't know the measurement beyond that, between a teaspoon and a tablespoon, but that spoon, you put one of those in there of each. And then lastly, of course, I like my onions a little crispy, so I put in the whole onions. I put chopped onions in there already, so that'll give the onion taste. And then these whole onions are just treats for when you're eating your soup. Alright? So we just put those in there. The temperature is still kind of high. Once it gets to a nice boil, a little bit more than this, I'm going to reduce the temperature and cover it. And since I need to eat more vegetables, I have all my fresh vegetables in there. And then I always have a bag of those mixed vegetables. This one has the peas, carrots, and everything. So I put that in there right before I take it to a simmer. Right? So now we have our soup on a simmer. It's covered and it's cooking nicely. It should come out wonderful. Alright, so I'll show you how it is at the end. So here I'm making a bit of a roux to go in there and thicken it up a little bit. I like my soup a little thick and dark like that. That's not going to look like any other soup, but that's how I like it. You can either use the red tomato sauce, a red tomato bouillon, or not. That makes it darker. And there's my roux. I'm going to go ahead and whip this up and put it in there. Now what you can do is take some of the chicken and cut it and then put it back into the stew while it simmers. Alright? So you can see the chicken's pretty much done. So I'm going to cut a couple pieces, put it in there, and then it'll be done in a minute. And there we have it, Bachelor Surprise chicken stew a la Cleveland. Okay? So you got all your vegetables, and you even got your frozen vegetables in there. But guess what? The frozen vegetables take on the flavor of the fresh vegetables that you chopped and put in there. I chopped up all the chicken and put it back in there and let it cook a bit. And you see how thick that sauce is? You see how that sauce is not all too soupy? It's more like a stew. See that? So that's my chicken stew recipe, which is going to help me recover. And the poblanos kind of take the 3 different types of bell pepper, and it gives it a kick. Not too spicy. I can't do spicy. Can't do the seeds from the pepper. So it gives it a little kick. And when they all marry together with the garlic and then the other vegetables that you put in there, I didn't have mushrooms. I usually put mushrooms in there. But that, the Worcestershire sauce, the 2 different kinds of broth, and the seasoning, that Fiesta seasoning, turns out to be quite marvelous. Make sure you don't over season it though. Don't put too much of anything because I put 4 different kinds of seasonings in there, right? And then the Worcestershire sauce kind of gives it that deep, rich taste. Okay? Trust me, it's bomb. I already tried it. And once again, this is chicken soup a la Cleveland, the Bachelor Surprise. Don't forget, I love you all tremendously. And this takes Absolutely stupendous. God bless you. Ta ta.